So tell me about the first time you met Grandpa. First time you saw Grandpa.
Oh, well, that was at church.
Was he dashing? Was he handsome?
Yeah, he's good looking. And I had the best picture of him taken in California before he come back here, because he never went back. He'd been working in the
forestry, wasn't he?
Yeah, Forest Service. Mm-hmm. And 13 Mexicans got burnt to death. Got trapped in a canyon and burnt to death. And your grandpa quit and never did go back. Oh. And when he quit, well, of course, his folks, mine lived down at Washington, which was about 30 miles apart. But every summer, Brother Will McAllister, that's Patty's daddy, he was a big, holiness preacher, a real fine man.
Aww.
Yeah. And he would, up around Cole, that was about 5 miles from our house, Cole, Oklahoma. They'd have a big church set up, posts in the ground, cut bushes and pile all over the top and make shade and have about 2 weeks of meetings. Oh. And of course with us girls and boys, that was the best fun thing ever happened to us.
So it was a revival.
Revival.
Okay.
And all the coming, and of course, this particular time, I had a cousin that had a new baby, and so I had went over to see the new baby. Well, she's my double cousin, and I'd seen your dad, but I didn't pay attention to him because he had 3 or 4 brothers there, and we'd been sitting down before the regular meeting started, and they all flirted with me, and so I got up and went over. I didn't see your dad. I got up and went over there where my cousin was to see the new baby, and I was just sitting there looking at her and talking about her. And I remember now her name was Ruby. She's about 2 weeks old. Oh. Yeah, and I just sitting there, looking at her and talking to her mother. And someone come and sat down beside of me, and I didn't think much about it because, in a meeting like that, you sit on a plank, mm-hmm. You're not in a chair. And I turned around and to look and see who it was, and it was your dad, and he winked at me. I said, uh-huh. He's a big flirt to myself. So we sat, I didn't say a word, and he said, well, let me see that baby. I said, oh, it's not my baby, it's my cousin's baby, and he wanted me to talk to him. See, that was the idea. And so he said, anyway, why? I kind of turned around, and your dad just scooped the baby up out of my arms and put it over in his mother's arms. And he said, come on, I want to ask you something. I said, I didn't even know him. I said, I don't know you. He said, you may not, but you're going to find me out. and so, yeah. Well, he said, let's go down to, not too far down the road, the street, there was a well, and all the young people was thirsty. Now, you know that. They all had to go down and get a drink of water, you know that. How they all acted. And he just got me holding the arm and led me down there, and we stood there and talked. And so somebody called him off. They called him Red, and to say something to him. And this girl walked up to me, and she said, Exie, I knew her, but I didn't know her sister. Said, do you know who you're talking to? And I said, well, no, not really. I said, he started talking to me, and she said, well, he's going to marry my sister. And boy, when your dad got back, boy, I looked at him and I said, better make way for me, because I'm not going to go with you. He said, what's happened? What's wrong? And I said, you're engaged to that girl that I'm going to marry. He said, oh, hell. He said, I'm not going to marry her. I won't, I'm not even going to go with her. I just talked to her. And probably was the truth. So he said, I'm going to take you home tonight. He was in a new 1929 Ford, and a real nice one. He drove it in from California. And he had these glass deals on each side, and they were called wind wings back then, you know. That was it.
Hold on, Grandma. He was driving what?
Huh?
What was he driving?
A 29 Ford. A four-door, you know, a car.
Okay.
And it had glass wings, you know, we call them wind wings, you know, that you could pull out and pull in, you know, like that. And I said, well, my mama wouldn't let me go home with you. No way. I was only 14 years old, and he was 21 or 2 right then. Your grandpa was. He said, well, let's go ask your mother. I said, oh, to myself, this will be funny. You know, I said, okay. And lo and behold, when we got up there at the front, he's going to ask Mama. He come in, he slaps her on the shoulder there, and said, he knew my name. He said, Miss Taylor, I come to ask you if I could take Exie home tonight. Could I? Mama thought a minute, you know, and the neighbor was our neighbor, and she knew your grandpa. And she said, oh, Miss Taylor, I know Red. Everybody called him Red. Said, I know Red. Said, he's a good old boy. I hate if he wasn't. And he's a good old boy. Said, let Exie go with him. And she said, well, Mama said, well, probably so. Now listen, they was in a wagon and team, and your grandpa was in this car, and we lived about 5 or 6 miles, maybe more or less, away from where we were at, the church. And Mama said, well, you be sure that you're home by the time I get there. And I looked at, well, it just tickled your grandfather to death. He just died laughing. Since then, we've laughed about that. I said, boy, you were a slick one. And that, he was real nice looking, very red faced, very red headed, but he had lots of hair and it was curly. He could put waves in it like that. And he had good looking teeth. And there wasn't very many boys, you know, I went with them, the country boys. I didn't like any of them. And so that's how we got acquainted. But we went together a long time, about 16 months.
Wow.
Yeah. But he was a big, good big flirt. And but all the girls liked him. Oh boy, did they like him.
So you must have been pretty popular.
Your grandpa?
You.
Oh well, I was. Yeah, I did. I admit it. Yes.